In today's video, we dive deep into a web of lies, obsession, and shattered trust. Imagine a world where a single mistake spirals into chaos, where love turns into a battle of possession, and where the truth, once buried, is forced to come to light. In this intense drama, Kat's one-night mistake with Tomas sets off a chain of events that threatens to destroy everything, especially when Tomas's fragile hold on reality begins to unravel. Meanwhile, Eva, caught in a toxic relationship, finds solace in Randy, a man who offers her the boundaries and respect Tomas never could. But when Tomas catches a glimpse of Eva and Randy's growing connection, everything changes. In this video, we explore the tension, the jealousy, and the explosive fallout that could tear them all apart. Stay tuned to see how far these characters will go when they are pushed to their breaking point. The video opens with a heavy breath and a nervous glance scanning the cold, bright hallways, where everything seems calm on the surface, yet beneath it all, there's a swirling storm. Kat walks through this space with a burden in her chest, each step reminding her of the mistake she's trying to hide from herself. She knows this mistake wasn't just a reckless moment, but the beginning of a chain reaction where lies breed fear, fear breeds avoidance, and avoidance pushes everything to the edge. Meanwhile, Tomas is like someone trapped in a warped mirror of himself, where fragmented memories are pieced together into a cruel logic of obsession and possession. He sees in Kat a chance to atone for his life, or perhaps just a pawn to cling to in the maelstrom of his own damage. Eva, meanwhile, tired from being caught in the tense rhythm of suspicion and boundaries being rubbed raw, is yearning for something more, a space where she can breathe without the ever-present fear of an outburst that might explode at any moment. The appearance of Randy, therefore, becomes a catalyst, not just because of the calm and clear boundaries he brings, but because he doesn't try to fix Eva, he doesn't try to gather up the broken pieces of anyone to be a savior, he simply draws a firm line between what is acceptable and what isn't, between respect and overstep, between calm and frenzy. In that clarity, Eva finds a pillar and a way out. But the escape of one is always the downfall of another, and Tomas starts to hear the screeching wind of the abyss right behind him. The days following are quietly taut, like a string pulled tight. Kat avoids, repressing every tremor of guilt with busy schedules, meaningless appointments, and endless hours of exercise to drown out the emptiness inside. Every time Tomas appears, she skillfully slips away like water on glass, but that very slipperiness makes Tomas misread the signals. To him, Kat's distance is an invitation to move closer, to assert something he believes is his. He begins to stitch together fragments, crafting a narrative in his mind where Randy becomes the invader, Eva the betrayer, and Kat the manipulated witness. He scrolls through social media images, stopping on one where Eva is smiling, carefree, at a community event, with Randy standing a few steps away, not touching her, but safety clearly radiating in her eyes. Just that much is enough to pour more fuel into Tomas's fire, and he starts questioning not to find the truth, but to create the proof of his own doubts. Could these boundaries Eva has set be a form of rejection? Could Kat's silence simply be an effort to cover up emotions meant for him? Or is all of this just a cruel game of fate meant to humiliate him in front of those he thought he owned? The climax comes on a seemingly uneventful evening. Soft golden lights, the sound of glasses clinking, steady like a metronome to a luxurious tune, and in the midst of it, Eva nods at a small encouragement from Randy, her eyes softening after days of tension. The moment she leans in, a courteous touch of the hand turns into a light embrace, and then into a kiss, not calculated, but clear enough to express her choice. It's enough to shatter Tomas's fragile reality. Standing not far away, Tomas feels as if the ground has been ripped from beneath him. He hears the world around him turn to static, his mind fixates on only one image, Eva and Randy. The anger erupts, not because of the kiss, but because he believes he's being shoved out of the story of his own life. As he storms forward, confusion turns into a tempest, fragmented words, labored breaths, trembling hands, and a string of accusations and pleas unravel in front of everyone. Eva steps back, setting up boundaries with a firmness that Tomas can no longer ignore. She no longer belongs in this chaotic vortex. Randy stands steady, not retaliating, only maintaining the calm to protect a simple truth that people have the right to choose their own safety. And there, standing at the crossroads, Kat freezes, aware that one wrong word, one stray look, could expose her secret, unraveling everything she's worked to protect. From that night onward, everything previously repressed begins to leak through every crack. Tomas carries the humiliation like a scar on his skin, sometimes smoldering, sometimes raw. He locks himself in a maze of hypotheses, each hypothesis leading to a conclusion where Randy is the invader, Eva the betrayer, and Kat is last hope for validation. He stalks public schedules, convincing himself that he's simply looking for answers, but every movement he makes brings him closer to dangerous territory. Meanwhile, Eva opts for deliberate silence. She doesn't want to turn her life into a battleground of justifications, so she chooses to write a new list of boundaries, one that she will adhere to no matter what, rejecting any situation that may be misunderstood, prioritizing public spaces where she feels safe, and even considering legal steps if Tomas continues to cross those lines. Randy, respecting her decision, understands that his role isn't to be the hero rushing into the flames but to be the pillar of calm, the one who stands guard for what's right. Kat, for the first time, looks directly at the price of silence. The more she tries to protect her image, the more she pushes Tomas into a misreading of the truth, and Eva gets swept into a danger she doesn't deserve. From here, the story turns a new page, where each character is pushed against their own walls. Tomas faces the question no one wants to ask: is he a victim of betrayal, or is he a victim of his own illusions? If he chooses to escalate, what does he really gain, except for an empty victory when everyone walks away? Eva faces her own test of boundaries. Are boundaries meaningful if you protect them even when others call you cruel? Will she have the strength to stand firm when confronted with late-night calls, messy apologies, or moments of breakdown, or will she give in? Randy walks a narrow path of moderation. How does he protect Eva without feeding Tomas's rage? How does he hold on to his principles without making himself a target for a man who's already lost his way? And Kat, standing at the center of a web of secrets, must face the toughest decision of all: speak the truth to end Tomas's illusions, risking an explosion of anger in the moment, but freeing him in the long term, or continue to remain silent to keep a false stability, accepting that every passing day is a day where the risk of everything falling apart grows stronger? Small situations begin to push everyone to the edge. An anonymous rumor circulates on social media, suggesting Eva is cold-hearted, prompting her to shut down comments and learn how to stand strong under a cloak of faceless judgment. A strange car appears outside her home one evening, not doing anything, but enough to make Eva's warning bells ring louder than ever. An unmarked email is sent to Kat with only one question: does she think the truth will just disappear? These seemingly random pieces connect to create a growing sense of unease, and just at this moment, the necessary interventions begin. Friends suggest Eva start documenting every crossing of boundaries, talk to a lawyer to understand her rights. Randy suggests adjusting her schedule, minimizing any situation that could be misinterpreted. Kat considers meeting Tomas in a public place just to lay everything bare, knowing the cost will be a sudden burst of rage. Could this be the moment she needs to end the illusion, or will it only serve to ignite an even greater explosion? The video reaches its second key turning point when another community event takes place, and all the paths, once again, happen to cross. Eva arrives with a group of friends. Randy steps back at the right distance, maintaining his silent role as her escort. Tomas arrives late, his gaze distant, but his exterior still trying to maintain composure. Here, everything doesn't need to explode into chaos because tension often makes the loudest noise in silence. Tomas sees Eva smile, but doesn't rush forward. He stands still as if exhausted, as if he realizes that every step forward will only drag him deeper. Kat approaches, ready to say what she owes, what can no longer be hidden. The moment the truth is spoken, without embellishment, without sidestepping, Tomas must see the real story. Eva's kiss with Randy wasn't a knife to his heart, but simply the natural desire for freedom from a toxic cycle. That mistake wasn't a promise for the future, but a marker to understand that unhealthy things will always push people into the wrong choices. The question arises, and it's for him to answer: what happens next, when anger no longer has a place to latch onto? The conclusion of the video opens up new possibilities. Tomas, at the threshold of therapy and facing himself, will he dare to admit that the thing he needs to let go of is the illusion, not the person? Eva has drawn her boundary. Will she hold firm when faced with the emotional aftershocks and the voices that blame her heart? Randy will continue to hold his ground when pushed into the eye of a storm created by a community addicted to drama, where every action is scrutinized through a lens of bias? And Kat, after speaking the truth, will she accept the cost of it as the only way to break free from the cycle of fear? These questions aren't just to provoke curiosity, but to remind us that every choice has its own orbit, and every boundary, once drawn, demands the courage to live by it. In the end, the message of the story isn't about who wins or loses, But who will you become when love collides with self-worth, when secrets collide with safety, and when anger, which seems to give us power, only leads us to a dead end we can never return from? As the story unfolds, the tension between Tomas, Kat, Eva, and Randy reaches a boiling point. Every choice made, every look exchanged, has led them closer to a collision that can't be avoided any longer. Tomas, once a man of control and confidence, is now drowning in his own insecurities and jealousy. His feelings for Kat, already complicated by his obsession and possessiveness, are twisted even further when he sees Eva and Randy together. The kiss they share becomes the spark that ignites the fire he's been nursing for far too long. But Tomas's explosion of rage isn't just about a kiss, it's about control. It's about his deep fear of losing something he's convinced is rightfully his. And in that moment, as his world begins to collapse around him, he chooses to lash out. His anger, which had been simmering beneath the surface for so long, finally boils over. As Tomas confronts them, his words are sharp, cutting through the air like daggers. But Eva stands her ground, her voice steady, yet full of conviction. She won't let him dictate her life anymore. The woman who once cowered in the face of Tomas's anger now refuses to be silenced, her resolve stronger than ever. She knows that the time has come to set boundaries, not just with Tomas, but with herself. She can't continue living in the shadows of his control, pretending that things will somehow work out. The kiss with Randy wasn't a betrayal, it was a declaration of independence, a refusal to be trapped by Tomas's warped sense of ownership. Randy, the calm and steady anchor in this storm, remains composed through the chaos. He doesn't retaliate, doesn't let Tomas's words rattle him. Instead, he becomes the quiet protector, standing by Eva without taking the bait Tomas so desperately tries to throw. Randy understands the situation better than anyone, he knows that fighting fire with fire will only escalate the situation further. His strength lies in his ability to remain calm and collected, even when everything around him is unraveling. He knows that, in the end, his support is what Eva needs most, not his anger. But what about Kat? She's standing on the sidelines, watching as the storm she helped create unfolds. She can't help but feel the weight of her own guilt, the guilt of her mistake with Tomas. In that moment, as the confrontation intensifies, she's forced to confront the painful truth. Her silence, her unwillingness to speak up, has only allowed Tomas to spiral deeper into madness. She's been running from the consequences of her actions, hoping that things would somehow fix themselves, but now it's clear that the damage is done. She has to make a choice: continue hiding in the shadows, or step forward and take responsibility for the chaos she helped create. In that charged moment, Kat realizes that the only way to stop Tomas's downward spiral is to finally speak the truth. She knows the consequences of revealing everything, the pain it will cause Tomas, the potential for him to completely unravel, but she also knows that continuing to lie, to remain silent, will only make things worse. She takes a deep breath, steels herself, and prepares to face the consequences of her actions. This is her moment to make a stand, to stop running, to stop hiding behind the facade of silence. Tomas, too, is faced with a choice. His anger has consumed him, but somewhere beneath the rage, there's a flicker of the man he used to be, a man who could have had everything, had he just learned to let go. He must decide: does he continue down this destructive path, allowing his obsession and jealousy to define him, or does he confront the painful reality that control over others isn't love? That love, in its purest form, isn't about ownership, but freedom? His internal struggle is palpable, and it becomes clear that Tomas is standing at a crossroads, one path leading to self-destruction, the other to the painful yet necessary journey of self-reflection and healing. As the night winds down and the tension starts to dissipate, each of the characters is left to grapple with the fallout of their decisions. Tomas, now more broken than ever, is left with the daunting task of rebuilding himself from the wreckage of his own pride and jealousy. Eva, having finally set the boundaries she so desperately needed, begins to feel the first stirrings of freedom. She no longer needs Tomas's approval to feel whole, and that knowledge is empowering. Randy, ever the steady force, knows that his role is far from over. He will continue to support Eva, but he also understands that the road ahead will be filled with challenges. For Kat, the road ahead is uncertain. She has taken the first step toward redemption, but the journey is just beginning. The truth, once spoken, cannot be taken back, and she will have to live with the consequences of her silence. She hopes that by facing the truth, she can start to rebuild the trust she once had with Tomas and maybe, just maybe, heal some of the wounds she has inflicted. But the path to redemption is long, and the question remains, is it too late to repair what's been broken, or will the cracks be too deep to mend? As the final moments of the video approach, the screen fades to black, leaving the viewers with a sense of unresolved tension. The story isn't over, not by a long shot. The choices these characters have made have set them on paths that are irrevocably altered, and only time will tell if they can find redemption, healing, or if they will be consumed by the very darkness they've tried to escape. But one thing is certain, they are all changed, and the consequences of their actions will echo through their lives in ways they can't yet comprehend. So, as the credits roll, the question remains, who will rise above their own demons, and who will fall into the abyss of their own making? And for those who have yet to make their choices, the clock is ticking. What will they do when their time comes?